Hi everyone, I'm Alejandra La Phoenix Ayala. While I don't really like to get political, first of all, I'd really just like to say I'm deeply disheartened by everything happening in the U.S. to all of my family and friends, specifically in Chicago, with the riots. I mean, I understand. It's a difficult position because I have people from all sides, you know. I have friends who are black who are faced constantly with discrimination. And it's so sad because it's their country. It was built with them, and nonetheless, they face so much discrimination. So it's very unfortunate. Police brutality is real. I also have cop friends, cop family, so I know that not all cops are bad. I know that blue lives matter, but please take into consideration that this is it's not, you know, it's not the same, unfortunately. It's very one-sided, and unfortunately all these well, for lack of you know, African American and black people, black lives really do matter. So I'm really disheartened by everything that's just happening and all the riots on the other side, especially in Chicago. I know small business owners who are really suffering because of this. I have family out there, my grandmother and my grandfather out there, who are really just scared from the constant patrolling of the police outside, and you know, the quarantine that maybe COVID-19 wasn't able to do. So I just want to say that I'm really sorry for everything that's going on. I'm with you, even though I'm here in Mexico, and I really hope that this all passes soon. Please stay safe, everybody. So having said that, hello, Alfonso Hernandez. Thank you for tuning in, and for everybody else that's tuning in. So today I want to talk about the May 30th event that was supposed to take place through ESPN, which was promoted by Shuan Boxing in the Dominican Republic. So this is really interesting because, I mean, they already had 2 fights for the WBA title belts, and it was going to be shown through ESPN. Actually, I tuned in and I didn't see it happening, and I said, what's going on? And then, you know, when I went onto the web, I realized that it had been canceled, and this just, you know, 2 days prior to. So first of all, I want to let you guys know the protocols that were being taken for this event, okay? So first of all, at the weigh-in, there was going to be an acrylic barrier in between the fighters. There were only going to be 6 matches, and for the Dominican Republic, this accounts for only 30% of what they usually have at the events. There was going to be COVID-19 screening 72 hours prior to the event. And then after the test, there was going to be complete isolation of the boxing and the teams. Each team was going to be given a sanitary kit. The boxers were going to arrive in the arena in a sanitary overall. So these are, you know, the white, you know, when you see the movies and the people treating the pandemics are using, that's what they were going to be using. Everyone was going to be using a mouth cover, gloves, and surgical shoes. So to avoid this, you know, the shoe cleansing that we know is prevalent with the COVID-19. Everyone's temperature was going to be taken when entering the arena. Everyone was going to be sanitized upon entering the arena. And this arena has a capacity of 8,000 people, and there were only going to be 25 people present. So that's not even the 30% that was agreed upon. And each team was going to be isolated in groups of 3s. There was going to be another medical revision the day of the fight. Each boxer was going to have his own gloves. The arena was going to be disinfected days before the event, and each person was going to be disinfected on the way out of the arena. So these preventive measures were taken into consideration not only with the government, not only with the Secretary of Sports, not only with the promoter, but also with the WBA. So they said, if you want, you know, to have this show, then you're going to have to do these requisites. And for me, honestly, this is very complete. This is very real, and a huge effort on everyone's part for this event to be taking place. So as I mentioned, it was going to be shown through ESPN on May 30th, which was last Saturday. And this event was going to be headlined by Norberto Meneito Jimenez, versus Elizar Aquino, which was going to be the main fight for the super flyweight Fedelatin belt of the WBA. And as a follow-up, it was going to be Luis Salazar versus Carlos Cordones, which was going to be the co-main event for the super lightweight Fede Caribe belt of the WBA. So, as I mentioned, the WBA had a lot to say as far as what the protocols were going to be for this fight. So that was 2 fights, and then the third fight was going to be an 8-rounder, and the other 3 were going to be 6-rounders, all Dominican Republican natives. So there wasn't going to be any international or cross-country traveling. So, as I mentioned, this was all set. It was actually still programmed on ESPN. I think I checked it out, the schedule on Tuesday or Wednesday prior to, and it was still scheduled, so I was ready to go. I tuned in Saturday, and there was nothing. And I go on YouTube, and there's nothing, and I'm confused. So then I saw that on May 28th, just 2 days before the event, and after the arena had already been completely sanitized, this because on May 28th, they uploaded pictures and videos of how they were sanitizing everything. So just 2 days before the event, also, all the participants had come up negative for the COVID-19, so the test had been done. Everyone came up negative. I don't know for what reason, but Belgica Peña, which is the president of Shuan Boxing, had a reunion with the Secretary of Sports. And after this meeting in the afternoon, they declared the event postponed to a future date yet to be determined. How about it? So Peña said that everything was ready by his side. It was a big investment. He did say that it was a big investment, but nonetheless, he respected the authorities' decision to postpone the event. Then later, Peña publicly excused himself with ESPN, the WBA, for the great efforts and support in trying to get boxing underway. From his part, the Secretary of Sports declared that due to the state of emergency that the country saw itself in, he could not let this event take place at the moment. But he assured the public that Shuan Boxing was a strong and responsible promoter, and that it would come back strong in the upcoming event. So, just last week we were talking about the new normality of boxing post this pandemic. We see a lot of countries, a lot of states reintegrating themselves, not only just to the people that have to work, such as government and other officials, but trying to get back into sports. Very restricted, very limited, especially for boxing, which is a contact sport where there is a lot of borrowing of gloves and equipment, etc. They said 1-on-1, then they said only 10 people. So all the gyms have been trying to do what they can, but this is just incredible for me. I can't believe it, because it was backed up by the WBA. It was backed up by the government initially, and it was a big event that was going to be televised through ESPN. So, as we said, everything is just really uncertain. Another event that was going to be taking place, which we were doubting, was the same May 30th. There with King Carlos Promotions here in Michoacan in Mexico. So he had originally, I think it was the 16th of May, and then the government and the people postponed it to the 30th of May in an undisclosed area so as not to have any agitators present. Nonetheless, it got canceled once again. Right now, it is set for the following Saturday, June 6th. So I really hope that it takes place, because as everybody knows, they're in preparation, and I know the promoter is spending time and money investing in this. So it's just, as I mentioned, everything is really up in the air. And even something so sure, that's not a small-time promoter, that's not, that is televised on an international level, not just like on an internet platform, which is, more common nowadays, but ESPN, which is, renowned, backed up by the WBA for 2 title belts. I'm not sure if the WBA was already present. I know they have officials all over the world, so I'm sure they had some close by, but I'm not really sure, who's covering the cost, what's going on. As we mentioned, Sanfer originally scheduled for events also June 2nd and June 13th here in Mexico, got canceled because the government did not give the nod, did not give the go-ahead. As of now, there's rumors that June 20th will be the first event that takes place here in Mexico. And again, it's a big-time promoter, and again, they have the national TV. I don't know if it's going to be, it's usually through their platforms, but I don't know if it's going to be like on an international level showed. So all of this is happening. Everything's up in the air. Unfortunately, this event didn't take place, even though it was, ready, set, go. Apparently not. And, here in the Dominican Republic, where, unfortunately, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, there's a lot of things going on in the U.S. The Dominican Republic, we could talk about, political and economic situations, but overall, the big thing that they only have is the pandemic. So I think if we look at all the precautions that we're going to be taking place, I think honestly that it was a good event and that it should have taken place, and I think it would have given way to a lot more events. But also, I think part of it, yes, it's obviously COVID-19, and we don't want this contagion. There's a lot of countries that are in a state of emergency. There's quarantine. There's resurgency, for example, in South Korea, that, it was supposedly okay. They're taking extreme precautions, and, as long as there's not a vaccination, unfortunately, there's going to be the resurgence constantly. So, well, what we could hope for is just a vaccine. We really hope that, June 6th, we know that there's going to be an event with Top Rank there in Las Vegas. We really hope that it all goes well and that nobody gets infected, so that we can start up and we can have the confidence to start up this boxing, because everybody misses it, me especially. So yeah, that was the event. And well, news, there is a lot of news, as I said, as we wait for, coming back. A lot of boxers are really excited. A lot of them are back in training, a lot of them are back in camp, and the only thing they can do right now is talk trash on on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on their social media. So Devin Haney, not talking trash, but he assures that he will be coming back stronger after a surgery to repair his right shoulder. So the injury occurred back in December when he faced Alfredo Santiago, in which he dislocated it. So after that, I'm guessing he had complications, because it wasn't just a matter of popping it back in. And so unfortunately he had to have surgery. I don't know if it was major or minor. He didn't give too many details, but he eyes returned for August. He's already back in camp, already back training, sparring, and he says that he feels great. He's sure that it won't be a problem. In other news, Chicago native Joshua Greer, with a record of 22 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie, is set to face Mike Plania, with a record of 23 wins and 1 tie. So a very close match. No doubt it's going to be very entertaining. This is going to take place June 16th in Las Vegas, of course, in the Top Rank card. And he's already positioned in top spots for all boxing organisms. So what he hopes for is a chance to go for that title belt in the bantamweight division. But first, and while everything gets regulated, he's going to be doing this fight, which is not an easy fight, but I'm sure he'll do great because he's very disciplined. And as we mentioned, Sanfer, after having troubles on Mexican soil to start up, one fight that is going to be taking place is in conjunction, of course, with Top Rank, who's already been given the go-ahead to start up boxing over there in Las Vegas. Sanfer returns with Top Rank on July 7th, where the main fight will be Jose Chon Cepeda, with a record of 31 wins and 2 losses, against Ivan Baranchik, with a record of 20 wins and 1 loss. So that's going to be an interesting fight. And for all the Mexican fans, at least, we're getting back in the mix. And also, I hope that all the travel is regularized by then. I know right now, if you're not a citizen, it's very difficult to go to the U.S. And if you're not a citizen, it's very difficult to come to Mexico as well. So we hope that by July, everything will be okay and we're able to cross borders. So far right now, they're saying June 20th. they're going to open the borders to tourists. So hopefully, because this is the third time, I believe, or the second, that they've set back the date, unfortunately. So, and in female boxing, Michaela Mayer versus Helen Joseph will take place June 9th, again in Las Vegas, in this Top Rank card. And this will be the first female boxing match to take place after the pandemic struck and everything shut down. So very exciting. As we know, there was a lot of pending, really interesting female boxing fights, world title belts, and so forth. So here we see a little ray of sunshine at the end of the tunnel, as the first female boxing fight will take place. And Michaela Mayer, we all know, is a great boxer, tall, very good handles, boxing wise. And Helen Joseph, also we know, has a great chin, this African boxer who has faced some of the best. So no doubt it will be a great fight. Jorge Linares spoke out on social media saying, "I'm not talking much, but I'm waiting for the contract to fight with you spoiled child, Garcia." This, of course, referring to the fight that they had planned with Ryan Garcia before the pandemic struck, and now they're saying yes, no, maybe, dates. I don't think Ryan Garcia is backing up. I don't think backing off, and I don't think Golden Boy is saying that this fight isn't going to take place. I think it has more to do with the fact that everything's up in the air. Honestly, even though Golden Boy has said that they plan to return in June, nothing has been set, and it's just the regularizations of everything is not nothing is sure. So I understand it. So maybe that's why he hasn't gotten the contract. But that's definitely a fight that we all want to see, right? And in UFC, so UFC returns June 6th with the featherweight title of Brazilian Nunes versus Canadian Spencer. And even though I don't know a lot about MMA, we've talked a little bit more. I'm trying to get more into it. I 100% know who Nunes is. She's a very exciting fighter. So I'm really glad that this is taking place. No doubt it's going to be a great event, and I can't wait to see it. So a lot of great fights coming up in these next 2 weeks. I really can't wait. And if we go into more, a little bit about speculation, Tyson Fury said that he received a call to fight Mike Tyson in an exhibition fight. So we all know that Mike Tyson is ready and coming back with everything. He looks great. He looks in form. He looks fast. He looks strong. Of course, we've talked about his age at 53 years old and he hasn't fought since 2005. So we're talking about 15 years without fighting. We know that he put on weight. We know that he took it off, etc., etc. So for this, Fury said that, hey, as long as they pass the medical test, he's not against retired fighters coming back. However, he has said that nothing has materialized yet. So nothing is sure. They did get the call, but nothing is sure. To this, Mauricio Suleiman said he's 100% backing up Mike Tyson in his return for these exhibition fights. But also, interesting enough, he said, hey, if he does these exhibition fights and he feels good and he looks good and he trains for, a world title fight, I'll rank him so that he can come back and fight. So how about that? Mauricio Suleiman, of course, president of the WBC, one of the most important organisms in boxing, has said that he would allow Mike Tyson to come back if he fights the right people and he wins. Interesting enough for this, White, who has been the interim WBC champion already for 3 years, said he has nothing against Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson's great, but he can't believe that he's been wanting a title shot for 3 years and he hasn't gotten it. And yet, he's going to let Mike Tyson fight for the WBC belt. So he just can't believe it. And apart from that, he said, and he's 53 years old. Yes, he looks good. Yes, he looks great. Yes, he looks strong and fast. But one thing is doing, a couple of mixed rounds, a couple of sparring rounds, but when you're actually out there and you're actually fighting 12 rounds, 3 minutes with people who have been active and who are younger, what if unfortunately, let's knock on wood, but something happens to Mike Tyson or Mike Tyson dies? He says that's going to be completely on the WBC, and you know what? Boxing doesn't need it right now. As we know, in the past few years, there have been many deaths in the ring or due to injuries because of boxing events. So he says, hey, let's not risk it. Mike Tyson is great. Let's, if he wants to do exhibitions, that's fine. Let's keep him where he's at. So very interesting from all angles on the Mike Tyson return. And lastly, Clarissa Shields says she wants to be undisputed in 2 divisions, which has never happened since there's been 4 major organisms in boxing. As we know, she's already undisputed at 160, and her next fight is at 154 against IBF world champion Marie-Eve Dicaire. She says after that, she wants a rematch with Hannah Gabriels, but this time at 154. For her WBA belt, and as we know, she's already a champion in her last fight. So all of this really interesting. She also said that she wants to do pay-per-view, that there's a few good fights that she thinks people would buy, so it's just a matter of coming into a promoter and coming into agreement. She says the money's there, the audience is there, and people are willing to pay to fight, to see this fight. And well, it's very interesting to me. I think she can do it. I think she's courageous enough to do it. She's very disciplined, and well, we'll see what happens. Right now, she has to get it past Marie-Eve Dicaire, so we'll see what happens. Robert Cartagena says, what's your prediction for Mikaela Mayer versus Helen Joseph? Sorry. I think it goes the 10 round. I think they're fighting 10 rounds, if not 8. I think it goes all the rounds, and Mikaela Mayer will win by decision. As I mentioned, and as I've seen in her fights, we all know she's very long she's very tall and long for her weight class, and I think even when she's fought like very forward, very aggressive fighters, sometimes in the first few rounds she has a little bit of difficulty in obtaining her distance, but especially in the later rounds she does a great job. So I'm thinking this is going to be a similar fight. As we know, Helen Joseph, well, she has more experience than most of her other fighters, but Mikaela Mayer has said, hey, I want a world title shot, so she definitely has to get past Helen Joseph, and she has to do it with style. She has to look good, and I think she'll get her opportunity in getting that title shot. And I saw another comment. Yes, Robert, thank you very much. I pray for my family and everyone else's family in Chicago, in the US, and obviously in the world. But since we know all of these tragic events, also unfortunately, they announced that DACA has been re-signed. All those people that really counted on it, all those great people, students, hard workers, I really hope that everything just gets settled, because everything happening over there is just disheartening. But well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, unfortunately, I couldn't do my event on Friday because of family issues, but we're here and we're constantly looking at what's next in boxing, right? So shout out to Ivan Perez, who's also tuning in. And as always, lots of love to everyone in Chicago, Mexico City, Tijuana, Canada, and the rest of the world. Thank you so much. I'm Alejandra La Phoenix Ayala, and we'll see you Friday. Bye-bye.